Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. 10 money savvy strategies, Jim. That's what we're covering today.
Yep.
Jim is streaming on TikTok and live on Instagram, Jim, both.
Yeah, this time we're going to try and be more engaging for the TikTok
Yes.
platform, because if people were getting a wee bit annoyed, it was like, how answering my questions right now, or how taking my comments right now. So we're going to try this different in our format in TikTok for a change. We're going to be more engaging this time rather than actually just reeling it all out and letting questions end up at the end. I mean, these questions might be kept to the end anyway. But I think we'll see how we get on with a more engaging platform and possibly taking somebody's comments or their questions at what we're talking about at that time. So there's more clarity and it allows them to get an answer at that time rather than actually thinking, oh, I've got to go, because they've only got maybe half an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah. Generally, these shows last round about an hour. If you ask questions, obviously, they'll last a wee bit longer. And who knows what could happen in the next 60 minutes? Because I'll tell you what, we're talking about 10 money savvy strategies today, and I'm going to share a lot of content which is based on how I managed to go from homeless and unemployed to, let's be honest, let's talk about multi-billionaire. I hate mentioning it, but it's credentials more than anything, and most people understand that mentality, and they say, okay, there must be something in this if this guy's like this and homeless, unemployed. So it's probably like that. And so let's talk about it. Why are we talking about money savvy strategies right now, Richard? Why is that so important?
I think it is a really important topic, especially just now when we're in a kind of a time and when everybody really is thinking about their money and how they're using it and how they're spending it and how they could maybe keep more to help them build their current position, whether that be wealth or just be able to live more comfortably. And I think if you're building wealth and you're building a portfolio, and a lot of investors and things who I work with are striving to kind of keep building, these strategies for me, when I've broken them down, I think are really important from the very, very beginning of what you're starting to achieve, right up to once you've achieved it and continuing throughout that journey.
I've got to say, this is the basic fundamentals of wealth creation. A lot of people will just go through this, and this will seem like common sense to most people. But the brass tacks reality is, the thing about common sense, it's just not that common.
Yeah, I know.
and it's just not that common. It's like people think, oh, well, it's anybody. Oh, I could do that, and I could do this, and I could do that, and yeah, I could do that as well. And it's like, have you done it yet?
Yeah.
Because you're probably still skint. From this point of view, that's poor to people that don't understand. Elaine and I was talking about this yesterday, about how we say certain things in Fife.
I am aware sometimes when I'm on this.
When you actually understand, when you actually read the sentence back to yourself,
I know.
You actually think, how on earth could anybody understand that? Because we always say things like at the end of thing, at the end of something. It's like we often say that, and it's funny that, and it's funny this, and it's like, so what's funny about it?
Yeah,
there's nothing funny about it at all.
Yeah, sometimes the wording and how we say things is so natural to us.
Yeah,
and I've caught myself a few times saying words when we're on here, and I thought, God, people that are not maybe local to Fife or even just Scotland will think,
I have no idea.
Yeah. So apologies if we do sometimes. But
property. I get picked up on that. Property. It's property.
Property.
I couldn't care less. I knew a guy that retired at 25 years old, financially free for the rest of his life, made an absolute fortune, and he couldn't even spell story. He used to put an EY on the end. Oh, and he said he used to send emails to people and letters to people, and some people would write back and castigate him about his spelling and his grammar. And he used to say to himself, well, I'm sitting on the beaches of the world while they're still working. What do I care?
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. It's like what I talk about the cancel culture. If I say anything out of turn, who's going to cancel me? And if they do, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think things like grammar and spelling and things, I mean, they're important to have, but they're not the be-all and end-all, especially when you, like you said, Jim, for example, building wealth and building something successful. you don't need to be some literal genius. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, here's hoping
you just need to know.
everybody on this right now is listening to this, is watching this, actually wants to get out of debt and actually better their current circumstances. And this is what we're going to talk about, the brass elements of this and how to do this. What is the first thing we need to talk about, Richard? What is the number one rule in investing, philosophy? Is it not to invest a dime?
No, I think the number one for me is, before you start investing, is to eliminate your debt before you start to invest.
Oh, right. Okay. So basically, what we're saying is, before you start investing, you get rid of your toxic debt first.
Yeah, and we spoke about this through the week, Jim, and referred to it as toxic debt.
That for me is basically, and most people actually are very successful at this, is everything other than your mortgage.
Yeah,
Because the mortgage, it's your house, and your house goes up in value. You can argue that to the blue in the face, but house values do go up in value. 50 years ago, the average house price was £4,356. Now it's 196. Well, and in the whole of Britain, it's like 250, 260,000.
mm-hmm.
So there's a huge difference in terms of so value of property does always go up. So the mortgage is there just to service that debt and make sure you're in the property and actually replace the income of what is potentially is the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is toxic debt. Things like your car payments is a classic example.
Yeah, high interest car finance and things, high interest loans, cards with high interest that you're never going to clear off. I mean, that's debt, toxic debt,
But
and really
they
need to
get away with it. You've got to understand as well, the lenders are so savvy in how they do things. They make it look like they're doing you a favour, when in actual fact, the interest that's added onto it is astronomical. So what they're doing is they're working out. Normally, the first thing you'll get asked when you go to get car payments is, how much can you afford every single month? In other words, how much you can afford is what sets the tone for how much you can buy. Funny enough, that's the same as property, isn't it? We do that. We actually work out what the costs are first before we actually determine what the price of the property should be in order to get to maximise the rent return. But this is the same way in terms of how these lenders work as well. They ask, how much can you afford every month to pay as a payment? And then how much then that will determine what you can buy and how we could finance over a period of time, whether it should be 3 years, whether it should be 4 years, whether it should be 5 years, and what size of the balloon payment is at the end as well. And that's the balloon, the final payment. So they make that as minimal as possible, but what they do in between there is they maximise the interest rate available to do that. So they maximise that interest rate overall and actually try to get as much interest out of you as possible. So you just get something that says, for example, I spoke to someone the other day and says, see, you've got a new car. And he went, yeah. I says, how much is that costing you a month? 215 quid. And I'm like, no way. That is a really good price for a car for 215 quid a month, because I saw the car, it was pretty good. And then I thought to myself, I wonder how much of that is actually interest. It's probably quite a substantial amount. And in actual fact, they've managed to get it to the point where they've been able to manipulate it. So the end payment is you're locked into a cycle where you either have to take the car over and pay it off on normal finance loan, or you then have to get the next car on finance again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a constant perpetual thing, and that's what you get stuck into. So it's about eliminating that debt first. There's no surprise there that I've not had any car finance for years. It's like I wouldn't dream of actually having car finance anymore, because it was a convenience at the time. But the APR, which is annual percentage rate, which is the true rate interest, not the loan amount, but the actual APR as the true rate interest you're paying, is astronomical in comparison to what you're doing. So if you've got the money sitting around, then you may as well go and buy the car outright, unless it's tax deductible against your business.
Yes,
that's another way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, in the past we have looked at car finance, and it was just like crazy. I thought, I'm not doing that, and we actually ended up, we done a loan, bought the car, and then paid the loan off, and it worked out much better.
Yeah. So that's one way to do it, but the whole point is trying to eliminate it in the beginning. Yes. What I did though was, I'm sure Elaine had car finance when I first started. I'm sure I had car finance when I first started. And I looked at the two amounts that we're paying every single month alongside the mortgage, and I thought, geez, there's about £1,000 going every single month just in that. And that's 30 years ago, remember?
That's cool. So that's quite a lot in
That's a
comparison.
lot of money, you know. And then I thought to myself, how can I, because it's short term for me, and I know I'm going to earn more money later on. I know that, by the way. It was a foregone conclusion for me because I'd worked all that out in the beginning.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to earn more later on. I knew we could then start chunking that down. So I thought in the short term, the most important point is how much cash every single month is actually going out, and what can I actually save and invest for the future. So that's how I looked at it. So then I did what all these debt consolidation companies did, but I did it on the debt consolidation for me, not the debt consolidation that suited them, because they did debt consolidation to suit them so they could make more money with the customer. Making you were doing a favour, but what I did was the debt consolidation and thought, right, this is what I can go down to a manageable amount every single month. This will allow us to go and invest in what we're needing to do in our education and also in our mortgage as well. And then what we'll do out of that is maybe in the 5 years' time when that's up, then we'll be able to then refinance that on a different deal, or potentially we could then pay that off completely. So it was all about, for me, it was all about cash every single month I needed. But don't get caught into that debt cycle where if you refinance. Classic example right now is refinance your mortgage. If you take it from 25 years to 35 years, you save something like 20% in cash every single month that you're paying. But the interest added on is about 40%. But just moving to 35 years. It's an additional 40% interest that you add on, as opposed to the 20% that you're actually saving every single month in payments. So there's a huge difference in terms of doing that. So you have to work out the whole thing. So get rid of all the finance costs. That's the most important thing. We'll do a compounding effect next when we talk about the snowball method.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just going to bring us onto that nicely, and I was like, it can be argued that in order to help build wealth and things, that you need to be able to free up your primary income, which is really your salary. That is your wealth building tool, your income, the money that you've got coming in. And if it's tied up in monthly finance charges and things every month, then it's going to prevent you from doing that. So, like I was going to say, well, I'll bring us on nicely to the next bit, which is obviously harnessing the power, the snowball method, which is one method of looking at how you could reduce your monthly outgoings and your finance and things, and basically eliminating the debt. And it is easy to talk about eliminating debt, and it's a lot harder than just talking about it and actually how to do it.
Snowball method is a wee bit different though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's different because I teach eliminate the most expensive debt first, which is the highest APR.
Yeah.
But the snowball technique is designed to get you into the habits, to develop habits, good habits, to actually get rid of the smallest amount first, regardless of the interest rate, to eliminate the smallest amount first, because it gives you that reward for the effort you're putting in. So as you begin to eliminate the smaller debts, then the smaller debts are eliminated, and that cash then could go to eliminate the medium debts. And then once that medium debt's eliminated, the medium debt cash as well, the cash flow for that can then go to the bigger debts, and it'll chunk into that as well. So it's one easy method as opposed to the go for the highest APR.
Yeah, that would make sense to me, and my method of thinking. I would get rid of all the smaller debts first, which would then put me in a better position financially to tackle the bigger debts.
And the reason as well, psychologically, when you've got the smaller debts, I'm going to pick up on this psychologically. When you got this is what happens when you got the smaller debts. You see loads and loads of debt letters coming through the door. And psychologically, it gets you down because you see all these debt letters coming through the door. So if you can get rid of the smaller ones and you've only got 1 or 2 debt letters, even though it's like Monte Carlo or bust debt letters, it's like you're due £1 million. Where is it? It's only one time they're doing it. So therefore, it's only one thing that's affecting you, rather than all these individual ones coming through saying, oh, you've got a payment for this, you've got a payment for that, you've got a payment for this, you've got a payment for that. It's like your credit cards. If you've got about 10 credit cards running at once, start eliminating them. Start getting rid of them. Don't fall for this. Don't fall for this typical example about, I'll just finance it on 0% on another card and keep doing that, because you'll be in a cyclical debt cycle for the rest of your life. You're effectively putting yourself in a poverty trap and doing that. You'll never get out of it because your spending is always a way ahead of your income. That's what happens. It's a classic example. As soon as I got a credit card just recently, because I was like, I'm spending money on debit cards when I could be earning Avios points in British Airways.
For your air miles.
So everything's going on a credit card. And then I got the bill at the end of the month, and we've never touched our bank accounts. But it was very misleading, because when I got the bill, I was like, holy shit. It's like I'm almost a month ahead of what I was before. How did that happen? Because I don't do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. You just have to be more vigilant about it.
But yeah, the snowballing method, Jim, and I think doing that, tackling the smaller debts first and things, it's allowing you to obviously get maybe those, like you say, those small wins along the way and get rid of these outstanding accounts. And that in turn will maybe give you that confidence boost and momentum to kind of keep going. And then it'll allow you maybe to be in a position to truly tackle maybe your scarier debts that you do have if you've got bigger debts.
Yeah, just a quick one. April actually says, can property investment build credit score? Absolutely.
Yes, of course it can.
Because it goes on your credit score straight away. Perfect. Thanks, Avril, for asking that.
Yeah. So, and instead of maybe trying to tackle the big ones head on first, but then you've still got all these smaller debts maybe that are still obviously nipping at you to take care of. That is probably a good strategy. But to me, it's quite logical. But like you say, Jim, you do obviously recommend sometimes that you tackle things with a higher APR and things as well first.
Higher APR because you're paying more interest and you're paying more money out. That's another strategy, and it's my strategy I've followed. Because if you tackle the highest interest, then it's obviously you've then got more cash to go to the capital element once you get rid of the interest. So the higher interest is the one that you go for. There's no surprise there. You know, my £135,000 mortgage and my £135,000 cash in my offset account is offsetting against my mortgage. So literally, my mortgage is free, and they still insist that you pay the interest or the payment you would have paid for interest, but it actually goes down to reduce the debt on your mortgage itself. So I've got an offset mortgage for that reason. But there's no way I'm going to get that return on 135,000 cash available right now in any savings account or any ISAs or anything like that. So I mean, set it off against my mortgage I've got there now. Now, if mortgage rates come back down, then I'll take that back out and reinvest it in something else. But at this point in time, my mortgage rate would have been sitting at 7.5%. Now it's 0. So I'm not bothered.
Yeah,
that's where the money should sit for now. But I've got the great thing about that is I've got easy access to that money if I need it for anything else. So I'm not particularly bothered about how what it does and where it is. It's just working for me right now. Well, imagine that it's working for you right now, and you're not actually doing it.
Yeah, that's a good prospect.
Now, people would say I'm saving money by doing that, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm making money, and it's tax-free because essentially, it's the mortgage I'm paying off. It's the interest I would be paying off, and I'm saving that. So I'm really making it with the money I've got just now. I look at it a different way. I look at it in the fact that the glass is half full rather than the glass is half empty.
Yep.
And when I look at investment strategy, and also the opportunity cost, opportunity saving. So the saving is you're saving, I don't know, it's something like 700 quid a month or something like that. So, you know, that's money I wouldn't have had otherwise, just with other money offsetting it in the bank account. So it's a great idea. So the snowball method is one way you can do that. Is just start with the smaller debts, easily manageable for somebody that just wants to start out for the first time, and start getting rid of these ones. Just don't fall into the trap where you get things like birthdays coming up and you get Christmas coming up, and you think to yourself, I've now got an opportunity to actually borrow again for Christmas because I've eliminated these debts. You have to discipline yourself towards this. I would say definitely. You have to be vigilant. You have to discipline yourself towards this. You have to develop that habit of doing this. I would definitely say that's advisable to do. So.
No, I was just going to lead on, but if you want to, it's fine.
Yep. No, crack on.
I was just going to say, so looking at your debts, trying to eliminate them, looking at your own maybe individual strategy for doing that. Everybody's different. Like I think maybe snowballing method is quite good, but Jim, on the flip side, higher APR. Get that under control. Get your mindset into the right place in terms of not continue to spend once you've cleared debt, and then. No, you're all right.
You could also, and when I'm thinking about it, because it's important I get it out now.
That's cool.
Before I forget, you can also go for the one that's the biggest cash flow out.
Yes.
There's another way to do that. So the biggest cash flow out. So if you've got something that you've got to pay 500 quid a month to, and you've got something that's got to pay maybe 30, 40 pound a month to, maybe the 30, 40 pound has the highest APR, and it works in the snowball method, and it works in the APR method about the highest APR, but it doesn't work in the highest cash flow method. It's like if you're needing cash flow and it's the important thing to you, you go for the biggest cash flow first then, if that's the case.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
So, but it's a balance in that, depending on what your specifics is, or what you want to achieve, or the stressful situation you're putting yourself under right now, and how you want to get out of that, and what one would make you feel better if you paid that one off.
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to go through that process and feel like you're creating some sort of success with getting through eliminating your debt. If you're doing it and you're thinking, God, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm just turning wheels here, it could be quite obviously, it could put you in a position where your mindset's not right, and that's an important thing as well.
But this is the full faith belief you must have in yourself as a person. This is key here. If you're eliminating and paying off any debt at all, you are getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Even though you can't see it at this point in time, you are getting somewhere. You just have to have faith in yourself. And this is one of the biggest challenges, is the mind up here, and what you think about yourself, and how you think is your achievements are. How you interpret that in yourself. You should be proud of yourself. You're paying off debt. Yeah. You shouldn't be lumping debt on yourself, thinking we're going to crock about it, keeping up with the Joneses. It's like, no, they've got it, so I've got to have it. And Instagram shows it, and Instagram tells me I should have it, so I does it. And it's these things. You know where it comes from. See, when you go, and this is where we were, because we used to holiday there, on the west coast, Butlins. Yeah. It's no Butlins anymore, is it?
It's Haven.
It's Haven.
Haven.
We used to go on Haven holidays for weekends because we couldn't afford anything else. So it was like 70 quid for a weekend with a chalet and the kids. And it was brilliant.
Well, it's still that cost now.
I know. But you know the things that I used to see? I used to see these posters that sat up on the wall in the big pubs that they had, in the family pubs. And they used to say, have a double. And then it used to say underneath it, go on, you deserve it. Yeah,
you worked hard, you deserve it.
No, you bloody didn't deserve it. You're in debt up to your eyeballs. You deserve to get out of debt. That's the most important thing. Forget about what anybody tells you about you deserve. Don't. If anybody ever says that to you, you deserve it. Take a good look at their life. And more than likely, their life will be messed up. I was going to say something else there. No. Messed up so bad. And they'll have all the glitter and glamour of the day, but they'll be knee deep in debt, and they'll probably completely miserable. And then if that is the lifestyle you want, they've got, then listen to them. But the reality is, you'll probably go, no listening to you. God, look at your life. I don't want what you've got, so I'm certainly not going to listen to what you're doing.
I do tend to find, and I see it quite a lot, that and you've got that. I mean, society now, we look at what everybody else has got, and social media has a big influence in that. But then you look at these people that have got the big house and all the fancy cars and all the rest of it, but it's all on tick. It's all like being paid back and in debt to do that. And is it really worth all that? Can they really be truly happy with all that amount of debt and having all this stuff?
I'll give you a good laugh. I obviously followed John Caldwell, billionaire, from Phones for You, I think it was previously, and he's got his foundation, but he's got his yacht, his super yacht, Tatiana. Yeah. And he put something on about Tatiana. It says it's been voted the most prolific super yacht and the best one of super yachts in the world.
Extravagant.
Yeah, and it was the proud that he's achieved that accomplishment. No boasting about it, because it is a working yacht. It earns money. It's an asset for him. It earns money from people who want to visit it. Now, you know where I'm going, obviously, in November. But I then thought to myself, I had a wee remark coming. I went, oh, I wouldn't mind a week there. And then I looked up for how much it's a week, and it's £770,000.
$750,000 for a week.
Jeez. For a week on his super yacht, and I'm like, I'm not at that stage yet.
No. That's a bit excessive.
I could go to Necker Island, but I certainly can't go on your yacht. But genuinely,
I think you would need to have really a lot of.
I tell you what, Richard. For me, I then thought to myself, "Oh, one day I could actually be on that super." And
Get a
then my
yacht and
mind
charge
started to
people.
work, how could I earn that type of money in order to get a week on that super yacht? Now, that's just in the back of my mind, working away there somewhere. That's
I
actually
think
quite a
you
strategy for a
would,
lot of people. If you've got a problem you've come across right now and you're not sure how to solve it, a classic what I was told in the early days is you put a wee box on your desk, like just a wee one of these wee treasure chest cabinets or something like that.
mhm.
Put that on your desk, and if you've got a problem, what to do is write the problem down on a bit of paper if you can't solve it right now, and then put it in that chest. Leave it there for 2 or 3 days. Open the chest, look at the problem again, and I bet you've got a solution for it. Because what happens is it goes to work in the back of your mind, in your unconscious mind. Goes and
it's
works
like
for
the
a
thing
solution.
when people say, "I'll sleep on it," or sleep on something before you make a decision.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what happens. I'm taking responses on TikTok, by the way, folks. You don't need to wait around to ask questions or anything like
yeah,
that. So that's how to solve a problem for yourself. So
yeah.
the next one it
Eliminating
brings us
debt.
on to then is, what about building an emergency fund?
Yeah, the next one, once you've obviously looked at eliminating debt, and the strategy to do that is think about building an emergency fund before you
Before
look
you
to
build
start
your wealth.
building your wealth.
Yeah.
Now, how important would you say that is, Jim? I mean, is that something that you practiced? Is it something that you had an emergency fund there?
No. Monte Carlo or bust.
I know.
But now, I suppose my emergency fund was always there anyway because it was locked up in equity.
Hmm.
So if I ever really wanted to get access to something, I know it would take about 3 or 4 months maybe to get access to it because I'd have to sell a house or realize an asset
Yeah,
over that time. But I never thought that it would be a point that I would ever need access to that straight away. So in terms of funds, a lot of people talk about it, but I was so convinced that my strategy was right that I didn't see the point of having it. This was almost like burning the boats for me, where
yeah,
the Vikings used to arrive on the shore, and there would be 1,000 Vikings who arrived on the shore of a country, and the country would basically be hundreds of thousands of people. But for some reason, the Vikings burned their boats because they said to themselves, "Well, we'll burn the boats, and we'll either do it or we'll die
or
trying."
die trying. Yeah, that's
And
true.
often what happened is the Vikings ended up taking over a country, and because of that strategy, it was just like all or nothing for them. So for me, I always went in with all or nothing attitude, and it doesn't matter to me. The journey is more enjoyable for me than the reward, and
Yeah,
you see that. That's why I give some of the rewards away. It's like,
yeah.
okay, then great, it's a reward. There you go, have it in the community. Give it to someone else, and all the rest of it. Because the journey for me is more exciting. I enjoy it more. So if you love the journey, it doesn't really matter. But you're absolutely right. For most general people, it's
I was
building
just
a
going to
mental
say,
fund. Yeah,
for people that maybe don't have that level of confidence or have the right strategy that they trust in place for what they're doing, then I mean, you need to really have an emergency fund to back you up, and something that, and I think having an emergency fund will give you an element of confidence because you know you've got something to fall back on. Now, whether that's maybe 3 or 6 months emergency fund to cover like 3 to 6 months costs, just to give you that
yeah.
confidence of I don't know, I was going to say a buffer, but maybe like a cushion to fall
It is.
back on. Because if you don't, then you're maybe just
Do you
an
know?
emergency. If it's property investment, you're maybe an emergency away from going totally bust
Yeah.
because it might just drain your.
Do you know why it never bothered me about having an emergency fund?
Mhm.
I'd been homeless and unemployed already. How further could I go down?
Yeah.
That's
But
probably the worst situation you could ever be.
but
So
then
I've
did you
been,
not have
I've
the
been,
fear?
I've been to the bottom. No, I've been to the bottom. I know what it's like. I could live like that. I could live like that. I'm okay with that. And when I accepted that, it was like nothing could stop me
Yeah.
because I never had any fear anymore. It's like the guy that it's like tightroping. If you tightrope and
Mhm.
tightrope like a meter off the ground, you go, I'll have a go.
Yeah.
Everybody will have a go at that. But if you put the tightrope up 2 meters, some people might wane off a bit. If you put it up 4 meters, you'll have other people going, well, I'm maybe not going to chance that now. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
everybody would do 1 meter, but nobody would do 4 meters. I've been at the 4 meters and fallen off before. So hey, if I fall off again, I know where I am, and I
Yeah.
know how to deal with it. I know how to strategize with it. I know how to get back where I want to be. And it's just that learning process and understanding. So when you've been to the depths of despair, It doesn't matter for me.
Yeah.
But right, if you don't, and it's the fear that people have, it make them build that emergency fund, and that's okay to do. So the second, when you build that emergency fund for savings, before you try to grow, don't do it before you try to put money into the money market or do anything else. Just build your emergency fund first. Make sure you've got, and it is what you said, Richard, it's enough cash in the bank to cover maybe 3 or 6 months worth of expenses. Now, remember, it's expenses, it's not living.
No.
It's not like luxury. It's like enough money to cover 3 or 6 months expenses. Most people, I'll guarantee you, do not have enough money to last them 3 or 6 months. I could take a straw poll now and tell you every single person who probably on this, watching this right now, will probably not have enough money to cover themselves for 3 to 6 months if they lost their job and they had no other way earning their income.
No.
They won't. So you're really just one emergency away from being forced to tap into your retirement account as well. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
I think that's an important thing as well. I know obviously this is the Wealth Creation Show, it's not all about property investment, but obviously that's what we do, and a lot of people that I work with, that is what they do. And I think if you're building a property portfolio and, as your investment, then it's important to have an emergency fund, because you are only maybe one emergency away. If you've not got that money, I mean, we know all too well, Jim, boilers could break down, there could be floods, there could be stuff. I mean, there's a multitude of things that could happen and catch you off guard. And if you've not got money to help you through that, or maybe the right insurance to help you through that, or do you know what, or a combination of both, you could end up in a situation that you don't really want to be in.
There's a classic. Here's a brilliant one. Gary's hit the nail on the head here. Afternoon, guys. Admire your commitment to your bank holiday on a bank holiday, or a commitment on a bank holiday. I hope you're on double time, Richard. No. But I tell you what,
we work all the bank holidays, guys.
You know what inspires me about this? There is no such thing as a bank holiday.
Yeah.
It's only created by society to stop everybody in their tracks and get them to focus their attention on what they want to focus on. I've never adhered to anything like this at all. There is no such thing. But the great thing is, I am doing something that probably 95% of the country isn't doing right now. And that's putting an investment in time for my future and the future generations that are to come.
At a time when nobody else is.
Nobody else is. And
so do today what others won't. Yeah.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. I will do today what others will not, to achieve tomorrow what others cannot.
Yeah. Yeah, I do really like that, because it's true. Because there's, as you say, the majority of the country won't be doing stuff today. Whereas if you are, well done, because you're investing time, and that time and energy in yourself, and build. Like Gary, you've took the time today to come and listen and watch, as you always do. That just put you out for the crowd. So
it's everybody watching, it's everybody tuning in, it's everybody listening to the podcast. You've managed to put your time and effort into this, and I can only thank you for it, by the way.
Yeah.
And you've actually listened to that. I spoke to Ian this morning about this. It's like, I'm giving away the secrets to be millionaire, multimillionaire, and how I started and how to get there and all the rest of it. And you would think, if you see that everywhere in the world, would go, oh, I need to listen to that. But everybody's at a different point of readiness, and they actually dismiss most of this and go, it's just somebody just sounding off. It's like, makes no difference to my life if you don't listen or not. I just like rattling on. No, it's really just what I'm doing right now is I'm putting a bank information together for future generations in my own family to understand what my mindset was at the time and how I was successful, and to be able to cope with being able to manage the portfolio I'm going to leave them. Because they won't have that, they won't be at that sort of level, they won't have that mindset. So they have to learn to understand that. And by me doing this right now, if I keel over tomorrow, they know exactly what the mindset is they need to adopt in order to learn to manage that wealth.
And there's something they reference back to as well.
Yeah.
You know, just, so it's like, oh, and if they watch through this, you've done other series, Jim, apart from just the Wealth Creation Show, that you've done your lockdown series and things, and they're all there for them to come back to as well.
Investment strategies and financial
millionaire mindset.
Yeah, millionaire mindset as well. Financial freedom blueprint. Okay, so once you've built an emergency fund before you started building wealth, this is where you've got to start disciplining yourself to put money aside.
Yes.
So once you're free of debt and you're sitting on enough savings to survive at least a quarter of the year, the most important thing you can do with your salary is to save 15% of it.
Right. And when we speak about this, Jim, like saving, this isn't saving your paycheck to go to your emergency fund. This is things like possibly paying into your pension, and this is to your future self. So
Yeah.
your pension would be right up there. We speak about that all the time, about contributing and doing additional contributions to whether it's your workplace pension, your personal pension, or both.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be investing in property. You know,
Yeah.
you could be putting it aside to do that. You could be actually putting it aside. Well, to be honest, 15%. I just said 15% because 15%'s manageable, and 50% just so happens is the average amount people spend on luxuries,
Yeah.
like going out and nights out and stuff like that. So it's the most tolerable and easy one to use, and it's just you have to learn to then just do some sacrifices, I suppose. I don't mean sacrifices. I just say delayed gratification. In other words, you're going to enjoy them one day, but today's maybe not the day, because if you spend today, you'll lose out big time tomorrow.
Yeah.
The bill, we've talked about this before, the bill from
For
regret is
regret.
going to be
Yeah.
horrendous. You either pay the price today or the bill's a lot more when it comes to it. And this is what it is. So 15% for every paycheck to your future self. That's what you're doing. You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anybody else, but you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah. And you'll probably tend to find that people do. You're saying this 15% that it relates to the same amount that people spend on luxuries and leisure and, do you know what I mean, things that maybe aren't necessities. And
Yeah.
it's not to say that, I mean, you could still treat yourself along the way, but maybe just cut that right back and do it a lot less than what you already do. Because I know a lot of people do it a lot far more than really is needed. But I mean, if you're working hard and you've cleared your debts and you're starting to put money aside and building an emergency fund,
Yeah.
and you're wanting money to put forward and invest in yourself, then look at where you could really cut back. And if you're doing that, then once in a while, that's fine to obviously treat yourself within reason. But you need to discipline yourself to do that, and that's the hardest thing, I think, for me anyway.
It's easy if you say it's easy. So if you say
Yeah,
so what the key here, Richard, is to tell yourself that's just not what I do.
yeah,
That's just not who I am. So if you say, I like my nights out, I like my nights out, you're more likely to find it very difficult to not go on a night out. But if you say, I just don't go on nights out, then you've defined yourself. And
yeah,
therefore, what happens is when somebody says, you come on a night out, you just go, nah, I don't go on nights out. That's it.
yeah,
Full stop. I just don't do it. It's like people say, do you drink? Well, I just don't drink. What? Well, I just don't drink. That's it. Full stop. I just
yeah.
don't smoke. I just don't gamble. I just don't eat meat. I don't touch dairy. It's like I don't touch
Yeah,
caffeine.
that's the vegan thing. We spoke
Yeah.
about that as well.
And,
Yeah,
and people actually think to yourself, what a boring life. It's like, geez, I am more engaged with what's going on round about me and more excited about my future now than I ever have been before.
yeah. And that's because of all these changes that you've made in the recent years.
But the point is, Richard, I actually don't know where I'm going.
But you're excited to see where you end up.
I know, that's the thing.
Yeah,
It's like I have no idea where this is leading me. But I know, and I've got confidence within myself, it'll lead to something else greater than what I'm doing right now. There's a lot of opportunities on the horizon. I even had a wee tear at my the other day thinking, I could be involved running MCR Pathways at some point in the future, which is a mentoring system to kids in care. And it's like, that would be, I mean, to me, that would be the dream job, possibly. The dream job, actually being involved in actually shaping and helping and molding the minds of our younger generation who have actually struggled through what they're doing right now. And this has led me to that point. That for me is everything. So I don't know where it'll lead me or what's going on, but hey, we'll keep doing it because we enjoy it. So this comes to the next one. This is actually really, really important. It's keeping up with the Joneses. Richard, do you keep up with the Joneses?
do you know, I used to get caught up in things like that, and to a certain degree, there's certain things that are like material wise that I do kind of get caught by sometimes, but not as much as I used to. And I appreciate now that to have a lot of material things really isn't that relevant, but it takes you a while to realize that. And it's sometimes like the most important thing isn't what you do with your money, but what you don't do. And it's like you say about training yourself there to keep money aside and not do all the things that, or buy all the things that everybody else has got just because you want to be the same as everybody else. Because really, who wants to be the same as everybody else?
I noticed this is where I learned this lesson and a very valuable. And when I go back, it subconsciously sat in my mind for a long time. I remember when my father, when I lived in the house when I was younger, I remember my mum and dad, they got a brand new caravan, and it was a Linton executive caravan, and it was absolutely immaculate. It was brand new and it sat out the front. We were all so proud of this caravan. And then the Davidsons, 4 doors along, all of a sudden appeared with a brand new, bigger caravan. And we realised that after a time that the Davidsons, 4 doors along, were competing against us, keeping up with the Joneses, genuinely. Yeah. And then one day, maybe a couple of years on, after they had to get a better car, they had to get better this, and they had to get better clothes, and they had to get better bicycles, they had to get better, and they had to, they just did it all the time. And then subsequently, and a couple of years later, then we realised that the Davidsons were getting moved out of their house. And it's like they're being repossessed.
Repossessed, yeah.
And genuinely this was a classic example of keeping up with the Joneses. They actually lost everything
because they actually lost their home trying to keep up and play this game.
Yeah, my dad used to get a car or something because that was his thing. He liked his cars, no fast cars or anything, but new cars. He actually regretted it, by the way. He says that. He says, biggest thing I regret is actually buying all these bloody new cars and wasting all that money all the time. But it is what it is, and I've learned a lesson from that. But every time he got a new car, the Davidsons had to get better ones. They had to get, Range Rovers and all the rest of it. And it's like, my dad just like, yeah, it's all right for me. An Austin Princess shows you how long ago that was. You probably don't even know what that is. An Austin Montego.
No, that's not true. My dad used to have a Montego.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the sort of things. And these people had to keep up with all the time, but they ended up getting the house repossessed. And no surprise, because it was all about debt, and keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
So don't keep up with the Davidsons, for God's sake. That's probably my answer to that.
I would definitely agree with you there, Jim. And I think today, like we mentioned about social media and things, and today's world is so social media driven, and you've got influencers and things, but and TikTok's a really, and do you know, I see a lot of people on social media saying, "Oh, TikTok made me buy it. TikTok made me buy it," and it's all these stupid things that they'll never use. But do you know, everybody on TikTok, and I've got TikTok obviously, but it makes people. These influencers and TikTok videos make people purchase these things, and that's what they're banking on that.
That's what they're there for. Yeah. They get money for influencing you to buy this product. Yeah.
If you click on that link,
look at the yellow teeth. You've got white teeth now just by putting this on, and it changes the color. And it's like the first thing I think about is that shit's going straight to your brain. As soon as you put it in your mouth, it's like going straight to your brain. That's
the high smile purple. Could I admit that I have that?
I would rather have
when I bought it.
I would rather have my teeth no as shiny and no Alzheimer's or Parkinson's than Alzheimer's and Parkinson's earlier on in my life, because effectively that's what it's causing. You don't know it yet. And people out there go, "Oh, we don't know," and there's no conclusive proof. And it's like, away you go. Everybody thought that about Skull Bandit, the wee pouch, the tobacco pouch you put in the side of your mouth.
Oh God,
Skull Bandit ended up causing mouth cancer. That's why they're not here anymore.
Yeah, and there's still versions of that go about.
I know, but my point is, you just think, for God's sake, for yourself. Just because some idiot talks on TikTok, I'm doing it right now, and says, "Don't do this." It doesn't mean to say it's right. It has to be right for your circumstances. Somebody says, "Is that Gary, Tank Commander?" I have no idea what you're talking about.
But yeah, that's it. Thanks, Jim, because I do have the high smile gel. But hopefully one day I'll not lose my memory because of it.
It damages your gums. It'll damage your gums. It'll damage your throat. You probably end up getting throat cancer. You probably get it's going straight into your bloodstream. Remember, and your bloodstream goes right around your body and affects every single organ you've got. Hence the reason the most important organ is your brain.
Yeah. Okay.
So social media influencers, like what you said, Richard, they get their cash and they show off and all the rest of it. Most of the stuff probably isn't theirs at all. They probably got somebody's Ferrari for the day and says, "Look at me, I'm in a Ferrari," and they've not got anything, but they've got loads of followers because they've seen them in a Ferrari.
Yeah,
it's like, my God, you don't need to do that. Don't buy into that system. That's probably key. Don't buy into the keep up with the Joneses. Stay well away from it. What about things like, what else can we do, Richard, about money saving? What about utilising money saving technology and stuff? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, number 6, utilise money-saving technology. And I think it is important to. There is a lot of things out there now that could help you save money, and things like, do you know what I think is quite good, and that'd be quite. I don't know if you know about it, Jim, but you heard the money box?
I have actually, yeah.
Gavin uses money box, and I don't, but it's actually meant to be quite good. And what it does is it rounds up your spending, takes the extra, and puts it in a wee savings account, or you could save directly into it, and it invests it on your behalf, and it's actually quite good. It's on a small scale, and it's good to kind of see how it works. But it's just these types of things. There is a lot of technology now that helps you save money, and like I say, invest your savings while you do that. But
you've got to then look at things like what are the charges for running money box?
Yeah,
you know, in proportion to what you're actually saving and putting away. That's what so there's a lot of incredible gadgets and software applications that would have been unimaginable in my time, you know, when I was doing this, because I was literally spreadsheet and pen and paper for me. Many of them can save you money, and if you want to take advantage, you should really try and take advantage of each and every one of them, but you've got to still be aware of what it's doing. Probably one of the best sources, I would say, was Martin Lewis's Money Saving Expert. You probably get really good gadgets on there, because he doesn't endorse anything he doesn't believe in himself. It's never about money for him. Because it's like that, he doesn't need that, but it's more important for him to get the right information to the right people to help them. So I think Martin Lewis is someone I would definitely do that, you know, follow and actually get advice from in terms of money saving tools technology.
Yeah, another one that's really good and obviously very relevant for just now is you get all these smart the smart thermostats like the Hive and all the rest of it on the apps on your phone, where you could control your heating wherever you are, your heating and how your lights and everything come on and off, and that really reduces your outgoings on your utility bills and things as well.
Yeah,
and also,
I mean, Big Johnny actually says on here that most banks do that for free, you know, give you the apps and everything.
I've got it on my banking app. Bank of Scotland's brilliant, and it shows me exactly where I'm spending, what I'm spending, and it shows you the trends over the months of where you spend the most money, what shops you spend the most money in.
See, I think I take it for granted that most people know what I know because I'm an accountant, and you know, while you guys go, oh, that's brilliant, that technology, I'm like, well, it's a spreadsheet, and I could do that at the touch of a button, and I could just put everything in its place and know where everything is. But I take that for granted, and I don't realise that other people don't know what to do or how to do that. I spoke to someone at the weekend when we were out and about, and they were saying, and I was talking about how a child's pension, because he just had a new baby, and I says, look, first thing I would do is invest money in a child's pension straight away, in your pension for your child, because they've got no chance. They'll never retire. They'll work till they die, the way the system's going. And it will be true in 50, 60 years' time. There will be no pensions available. They will all be in company pensions. The government will give you never give you a pension ever again. So, because they can't afford to do it, because of the way the system's built and the way it's all structured. So there'll be no pensions. So I says, you need to do that right now for your children. And he was like, I'm not really money savvy or the rest of it. Hey, you don't need to be money savvy. And then he asked me, what did you do in the beginning? And I went, well, I put £33 away for Scott. I put £44 away for Ben. And I put £77 away a month for Tony. Tony was grossed up to about £100 because she got the tax added on. Yes, your children, when you put a contribution into their pension, gets the tax up to the basic rate added on to their pension. But the compounding effect is astronomical. We've spoken about this before, but I'll tell you, if you put 8,880 in, you're not going to do this every year, but you'll put something in. But if you did that every year, the government tops up to 3,600. But over the life of 50 years, you've only put 144,000 in. If that grew at 2%, it'd be about 400,000 at the end of it. If it grew at 5%, it'd be at 900,000. If it grew at 10% each year, it would be 4.6 million.
Crazy, yeah.
4.6 million. I only put 144,000 in.
Yeah.
And the 2,880 in 40 years' time is going to be like buying a penny dainty or a Mars bar at the shops in terms of price.
Inflation,
That shows you how much of the value of compounding is and how it's important to put away for the long term as well. So, you know, do these, and you've got coupon apps as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got a lot of apps for shopping and discount codes and things. I mean, if you know how to use them properly, you can save a lot of money
you can.
using these types of things. And also, you get budgeting apps and you get that through your banking and things as well. But really, Jim, as you say, you could do all that, and that's brilliant. Technology is great. Or you could buck the trend and go low tech. And like you say, Jim, you started it was pen, paper, and spreadsheet. And although technology can offer convenient tools for saving and growing money, there is really a lot of ways that you could do it just by, like you say, pen and paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Pen and paper.
Whether it's just an old school banking
The
or
old
account
one.
sheet.
The old one was where women back in the day, when they stayed at home and the husband went out to work, what they did when they got their monthly allowance from their husband, they would have their jars on the shelf, and they'd have the jar for the food, they'd have the jar for the utilities, they'd have the jar for something else, they'd have the jar for school, for clothes, they'd have the jar for maybe a bit of pleasure or something, or leisure activities, but they would have all the different jars, and that's effectively what the low tech is.
Yeah,
they're just doing proper budgeting, but they disciplined themselves how to do it.
Yeah, it's just divvying it up, working with a basic budget, and starting with just start with baby steps, and just do it a little bit at a time, and just think right. And do you know what? If you want to go really low tech and you want to have jars, and you've got and you're dealing with cash in your hand, then do it that way.
Yeah. I did spreadsheets and stuff like that when I first started. I did, if I bought a house this year and rented it for this amount of money, how much would it make me that first year? And then I took, okay, I could take that money and put it to the next year. And then I had that same property and it ended with that next year. And then I took that money and put it to the next year and thought, oh, I could actually buy another house now with a deposit. And so in year 3, I was able to buy another house. And then I'd have 2 properties now earning the same amount of money, and I would take that to the next year, and then I would go again. I'd take it the next year, and I could buy another house now. So in year 6, I bought another house, and I had 3 houses. And then what happened was, I could take that to the next year, that profit on the 6 properties I'm actually in. I could buy a house in that 7th year, and then I now had 4 properties, and then it was like, I could buy a house the next year. Now I had 5 properties, and then I could buy 2 now. It's
And
like now I had 7
possession. Yeah,
and by the time we got to year 25, or year 20 or something like that, year 16, I think it was, I ended up having 24 properties. And yet the first 5 years, I only have had 4.
Yeah.
It's
you
the
can see how your
compounding
position
effect.
changes and compounds up. Yeah.
I was disciplined enough as well to actually live on my salary. Well, actually live on partial of my salary, because I kept reinvesting anyway, because I knew where this was going. On a spreadsheet, by the way, I knew when it was going on a spreadsheet, because a lot of people predict on a spreadsheet, and then when you look at the spreadsheet and you look at what happened in reality, it doesn't work. Because humans get in the road, legislation gets in the road, changes get in the road, life gets in the road.
Yeah.
So your spreadsheet model doesn't actually mimic what's going to happen in life. That's probably why the Cash Flow game by Robert Kiyosaki is actually quite good, because the fact it actually reflects real life. Like, you've had children, so you have to go back to the middle.
It implements factors that you don't always have control over. Yeah.
Yeah. Or your house is burned down, and you're going to have to put money yourself because your insurance isn't going to pay it out, so you're back at square one. Or you've lost your job. You've lost your job, so you've not got any income, so you're going to have to use some of the income you've made already in order to sustain and support yourself for a period of time, and you'll maybe get a job in 6 months' time, but you've lost 6 months of income because you've had that, but that's where your emergency fund kicks in. So these are all things that just life happens. Life happens to you, okay? But why do you not make it happen for you?
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize. It's like, life should happen for you. It shouldn't happen to you. But a lot of people out there let it happen, and they don't actually do anything different. So, you're absolutely right. Low tech, essential. Check your balance account, know what your basic budgets are, take the baby steps that you said, and it's just bit by bit we'll build up over a period of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Somebody actually says, how about banning all people from owning more than one home? Okay, let's look at that. Banning all people from owning one home. If we banned all people from owning more than one home, then that means that 260,000 houses in Scotland would no longer be available for tenants to rent in the private sector.
Yeah.
That means 260,000 families, which is about 1 million people, will be displaced and they won't have a house to go to because they can't afford to buy that house in the first place until the government steps in and actually has a proper housing strategy and actually replaces these amount of properties for when these people need the properties. That's why you don't ban more than one people, more than one person from
one
owning more
property
than one.
per person. Yeah.
That's why you don't do it. It's not. There's not a coherent strategy in place in order to replace what's happening right now. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is an interesting one, Jim. So put what you already know into practice, and obviously acquiring knowledge and things is really important, unless it leads you to like paralysis by analysis. Let's look at that a wee bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So obviously, we're obviously big advocates of building your knowledge and building your knowledge in certain fields and what you're doing and what you're interested in, and if not,
Exactly
speaking to
what we're doing here.
and yeah, I was just going to say, like we're doing right now, or knowing to speak to the right people who have that knowledge. Do you know what I mean? That's a good skill in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't know how to do everything, and people specialize in certain things for a reason. So to know when you're up against something and think, right, I don't have the knowledge for this, but I know who does, or I know who to ask to find out. That's a skill in itself. Identifying when you need to ask for help and find the right help.
I think you're absolutely right. It's you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you need to find the people that do know. You just need to be more vigilant about the fact that the people that do know, are they actually helping
right
you
people.
or helping you, or are they helping you to separate you from your money?
Yeah, and benefit themselves.
And that's why I talk about the furus, the fake gurus out there,
Mm-hmm.
who haven't really done anything. All they've done is read a book and copied what everybody else has done before them, but they've actually not really aspired to what you think they've aspired to. And this is why I talk about doing your due diligence quite a lot. But acquiring knowledge is probably what will set you free. I mean, I listened to a podcast this morning all about glucose, and how glucose can affect your mood, and how you could how your eating habits could be changed ever so slightly without actually cutting anything out, in order to make your mood and less stressful, and to stop sporadic swings in glucose. And you know, it was a simple thing. For example, instead of having it's chips and carbs and sugary stuff, it causes this spike. But do you know, if you have a vegetable starter, something that's veg in the beginning, like steamed broccoli or edamame beans?
Edamame beans,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I have them usually when I go to Wagmama.
Yeah.
There's other alternatives available, but Wagmama is good.
Yeah.
So I have them all the time. But it was actually quite encouraging to see that it's because it lines your intestines already straight away when the fiber hits, and it prepares it so the glucose isn't absorbed as quick, therefore doesn't give you that spike, therefore doesn't affect your insulin levels, therefore you live longer as a result of it.
Because it's
That's a mind blower.
That is a mind blower. So it's releasing things at a more gradual pace than, yeah, right, okay, that makes sense.
That just blew my mind. And it says you should start off with your veg, then you should go for your proteins, and then your carbs and your sugars should be last in line. And it stops, it puts up a barrier to stop that absorbing so quick. And this is probably why people are a bit bigger, because insulin says store, and it goes into your muscles, it goes into your stomach and everything like that in terms of the fat. And because we're consuming glucose too quickly. Now, we're getting off the track there.
Yeah.
And I mean, but knowledge is power, but power to you. It's not power over someone else. It allows you to understand you, to make you better, to make you function better as a person, to make you produce more, to make you more efficient in what you're doing, in order to build your wealth a lot quicker over time. So that's how I see that.
Yeah.
So I learn from as much people as possible and make use of huge amounts of unproductive time.
Yeah. When I was looking into obviously what we're talking about today, and it does say that, and it was saying that to remember that every hour you spend learning on how to learning new ways to manage and grow your money is one you don't spend building and creating, and I think that's maybe not entirely how I would look at it, because I think, but then you do get these people who continually go to all these training sessions and learn
Professional
it,
functionaries.
yeah, and keep doing it, but then it's like, but you actually put it into practice, are you actually doing it? So there's finding that balance at learning and
I've seen it
implementing.
loads of times, Richard. The professional functioneers. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys, for people that are out there that are like this, but you love going to the functions. You love the camaraderie being about these people. You love learning all these things about these strategies and how to make money. But I tell you what, you don't actually do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do that till the cows come home and you might enjoy yourself, but you'll still be stony broke and right where you are right now. You have to take action. You have to do something. So learning all how to do that, there is coming a point where it is paralysis of analysis by analysis, and you have to get off. You have to get off the horse, or you have to get off the fence, is the expression. Just get off the fence and do something. Move forward. I don't know what to do. Well, what do you think you should do? Well, I should maybe do. Well, do it. Do it then. See what happens. It's better than no do. It's better than doing nothing. And guess what? Nothing will happen anyway. Oh, I didn't get the result I wanted. Great. Go and do it a wee bit differently and see if you can get the result you're actually after. But at least you're doing better than somebody that's not doing anything at all. It's the classic example about a talk about the couch to 5K. The person that's out there doing the walk is far more advanced than the person that's sitting on the couch watching the telly.
Yeah.
So the person on the couch is a keyboard warrior on their phone going, hey, you're a mug. What are you doing that for? You'll just weigh yourself down. It's like all these, I wouldn't be doing things like that. They're probably sitting on the couch, completely obese, watching the telly with a bag of chips or Just Eat. You know, that's the reality. It's like you don't listen to idiots like that, because that's the idiots that will keep you exactly where you are and where they want you to be. Ignore them. You'll always get the keyboard warriors that want to have a go.
Oh, yeah.
But you just learn to ignore these people. Think about the worst thing that you've ever done to yourself. Okay? Do you think anybody on social media can ever do worse than that? And the answer to that is probably no. So why should you bother about them?
Yeah.
You do it to yourself every single day. You look at yourself every single day in the mirror and probably think, just know that. Just know that person now. Just like, how's it? How am I just know this and how am I just know that? And you put yourself down all the time. You know, maybe just for once, stand in front of the mirror and give yourself a high five.
Yeah.
Do that right now. Honestly. Do that right now. Richard, do it. Do it right now. Honestly. You know why I'm saying that?
Yeah.
You know why I'm saying that? Because you get an instant dopamine hit by doing a high five. Did you know that?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, well, you would, yeah.
Even yourself, you get an instant dopamine hit straight away. You manufactured that yourself. When you learn to manufacture your own dopamine, no one can affect your mood anymore, because you can turn it on just like that in a heartbeat.
That's something that you need to really discipline yourself to be able to do. Yeah.
And give yourself a wee skip while you're doing it as well. Just jump off the floor. Woohoo!
Do you know there's a lot of people that have learned how to do that? I know you've been to, like, obviously Tony Robbins things, Jim, and once they know how to do it, they find it so easy. But for somebody that doesn't, it's such a difficult thing, and that's where mental health and things comes into play.
See, somebody's saying, why are you going for people overweight? No, I'm not going for people overweight. I'm overweight. Yeah. But there's always somebody that has a different interpretation about what we are saying here right now.
Yeah.
This is about helping people get off the couch and do something with their life. Do something that they really want to. Because most people are sitting there saying, I wish I could be more than I could be right now.
Yeah.
Now's your golden opportunity to do that. Just step out your comfort zone. Just go out and do something. Do something that benefits you. That's what the most important thing is to do. Yeah. Even the act of, this is another one, how to get a dopamine hit without going to Facebook or anything. Just lift your arm above your head like that. Do it. Richard, go on.
Right, okay.
And do you feel better about that?
Well, Yeah, I suppose. Okay.
Do you know why you feel better about that? Because that is the national symbol for celebration. And it's
Right. Okay.
hardwired into us as human beings. That is celebration when you put your hands in the air. The dopamine hits straight away to your brain, because that's why people do that at a concert. They put their hand up in the air.
And then jump. Yeah.
They're in the moment. They're in the moment. They feel it. That's why people in church go hallelujah and their hand goes up in the air, because that's the trigger for the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
That's where you get it from. That's how you get rid of. Somebody says they've got bad anxiety and they're 18. That's how you get rid of it. That's how you get rid of the anxiety. Put your hands in the air.
Yeah.
That's it. Give yourself a high five, but discipline to do it yourself every single morning. And then also use breathing exercises. We're going to cover this because we may as well cover this, because this is all about wealth as well. This is about personal health and wealth. Personal health is wealth. That's probably the most wealthiest thing you'll ever get for yourself, is your own personal health. How to get rid of bad anxiety. 4 seconds, breathe in. Now hold it for 4 seconds. And then breathe out slowly.
Yeah.
Do you feel that stress coming away from your mind?
Yeah, you do when you
Feel
exhale.
that coming away. That's how you get rid of anxiety. You actually use breathing to get rid of it. It's a well-known fact in kendo. So we use this in kendo, which is hitting people with big sticks, samurai. So kendo, we do that at the very beginning. We do that at the end. We breathe. We use breathing to settle ourselves. So we're in the moment and we're centered in order to defend. That's what kendo's all about.
Your breathing has a lot to do with a lot of things you do. Even I remember trying to run, and running and any exercise is so difficult if you don't breathe properly.
But breathing, you can get away with. Bad anxiety can be eliminated just with a proper breathing, and also the fact that understanding, just lifting your hands. You don't feel like doing it, but if you just do it and do that, it actually triggers off the dopamine hit. You don't need social media to do it. You can do it every single time yourself, and it's just that, and you just feel uncomfortable, you feel stupid about it. But if you do it, it will resolve the situation and make you feel a lot better about yourself, and just make you feel less anxious, because it slows your body down. It slows down everything within your body. Your breathing is important as well, because most people
short and yeah.
You know what happens with that? The lungs tell the heart to speed up to supply more blood, therefore you get anxious.
Yeah.
That's why when you breathe in deeply, like I did the breathing exercise, and breathe out slowly, and then just hold it for a second, that's why the lungs then tells the heart, oh, slow down. Anxiety disappears. That's how you do it. Anyway, let's know what we put into practice. That I digress, because
no, that was good though. That was good, and I hope obviously people listening find that helpful, because I mean, to have anxiety and things is not a good thing. But there's ways to get over it.
I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Why do you think I used to wake up at 2 o'clock? Why do you think I never used to sleep?
Yeah, but yeah. So the next,
I'll tell you what. Why do I think I never used to sleep? Let's cover that. That's probably because of caffeine. That's probably the worst thing for you ever, by the way, and your brain. It's really bad for your brain. Caffeine, milk, meat, alcohol,
processed stuff,
cigarettes, all these different things. All these different things add to your anxiety. Just eliminate them. Not all at once. Just do it bit by bit.
Yeah, bit by bit. I was going to say, try and do them all at once.
Just about the vegetables at the start of a meal. Eat your vegetables first. That's what I'm
going
to do.
I didn't know that, and that's something
one of my habits. Going to be one of my habits. Go straight for the veg. Go straight for the veg.
Yeah.
So total money makeover.
Yeah, and then I think this one's quite good, and never enter the grocery store without a plan. And
the pain of my life.
Well, we laughed about this, Jim, because both of us said at the same time, never enter the grocery store without having something to eat first, or going in there hungry. Because what this relates to is making impulse purchases and doing things that are maybe misspending on things that really you don't need to. And if you go into the supermarket hungry or without a plan of what you're exactly buying, and then leave in, you end up with a trolley full of stuff that really you didn't need. And that's the premise of what
Do you
never
know why
ending.
that happens?
Yeah. Well, yeah, wouldn't it?
Because your mind goes about and it looks at everything and
Oh, I
goes,
like that. Oh, I want that.
no. Can I get a dopamine hit out of that?
Yeah.
Can I get a dopamine hit out of that? And what it looks for is sugar, because that's what causes it. That's why we love and crave sugar, because it gives the dopamine. It actually produces dopamine. But sugar is extremely bad for you and causes cancer long term. And that's why, but the government's going to go do anything about it, because it creates a huge amount of jobs and creates a huge amount of wealth for pension funds and everything.
Yeah.
So the government's got no intention of doing anything about it at all, but just almost approaching it the same thing as what they do with smoking. It's like, we'll just tax it more. It's like, all right, so you'll make more money out of it, and then we'll just tell people and educate people it's bad for you. Why just cut it out completely? Because it would have mass job losses. There'd be a whole industries wiped out overnight because everything's got sugar in it.
Yeah.
So that's why when you go in hungry, your mind tells your body tells your mind, it's like, oh my God, I need something. And then that's why when you see everything, you think, oh, I could have that. Because fine, you link that with the dopamine, but you don't know that's why you're linking it with that. So when you see Frosties on the shelf, you go, oh, Frosties, sugar coated.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's me. That's what I do. It's like, instead of having normal what is it, Wheaties, the brand Wheaties things, it's
Shreddies.
like that's it. Instead of having the shreddies, I'll go for the frosted shreddies.
Yeah.
I'm the world's worst. I know myself so well. And you can have these lapses, but then what happens is, it's the classic example when you go to the shop, if you've not eaten anything and you're still hungry, you'll buy everything.
Yeah.
And I often get to the checkout and I say to the lassie, I only came in for a loaf of bread.
I've
literally got a whole cart.
Yeah, everybody says that. I only went in for one these two things or whatever and come out with a trolley full. Yeah.
And a cordless drill and if you're at Aldi's, the Lidl's, a cordless drill and a shovel, and just in case the snow comes back, I've got a sledge. but because I might miss them when the snow comes and they'll sail out, so I'll get a sledge now.
Yeah.
And it's the middle of summer.
But yeah, I think that the purpose of that is, though, to really highlight impulse purchases and misspending on things that really aren't necessary, whether that's in your day-to-day life or whether it's in your investment journey. When you're looking at even property purchases or things to then renovate the property, do you know what I mean? Be careful about what you're spending your money on.
Yeah.
Do you really need to do that? At a certain, like if you're doing a renovation at a certain level, do you know what I mean? Is it necessary? Do you know there's ways and means of looking at your spending and not doing impulse purchases or overspending on things that aren't necessary.
Absolutely.
Right.
Probably the final for finishing off on this is, you don't know what you don't know. So it's time to work with a pro.
Yeah. You know what you don't know and work with somebody that is a professional in what you want to know about. And that's what I was talking about earlier, about speaking to the right people and knowing the right people to speak to. Whether it's information on finance, whether it's somebody who's an investor themselves in it, or whether it's maybe like property sourcing. I keep referring back to property because of what I do. But in any aspect of life, know the right people to speak to in order to guide you and give you the correct information on what to do. That is the most valuable information you'll have, I think.
Yep. So somebody has a question. All the good names have gone. So I have a question. Well, let's spit it out then. Get on with it. We're waiting, bated breath. But you're absolutely. We'll wait for that question and then we'll cover this. You're absolutely right. Just to finish off there, you don't know what you don't know, and definitely it's time to work with somebody that does know what they're doing. My best advice for anybody out there is, when you find that person that you think, they're going to give me the best advice, they're probably going to help me on my journey. I think the most important thing you have to ask yourself is, have they got what you want? I was taught by this by my mentors when I first started.
Look at them.
Have they got what you want? And if the answer to this, have they got what you want, then probably listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have what you want, and I mean, if you look at them and think this is all superficial, in other words, your Bentley, you've got your Ferrari, you've got your big house that you've got, your holidays that you're on, all these different things. You could probably see that they're all maybe financed, or it's a bit too extravagant, and you kind of question it. You think to yourself, you're probably knee deep in debt. Most of the time, you can actually check these people out, because what you do is you go into their website or their blog or their page, and if you go right down to the bottom and you go into the terms and conditions of a website page, because you can't find their company they're trading under, but you go down to the terms and conditions or the privacy information, it has the name of the limited company in there. So what you do is you take the name of that limited company, you go into Google and you look up Companies House, you put that limited company name into Companies House, and then you get to see what they've got, their true wealth.
Yeah.
Most have not got a pot to piss in,
Yeah,
because I've checked them all out. These gurus and fake gurus out there that say, look at everything I've got. Look at my Ferraris, my Bentleys, my big house and all the rest of it. Look at all the wealth that I've built. And you look at their limited company and it's like, you've not got
There's nothing in it.
You've maybe got 50 houses, but you've got 50 debt. You've got 50 debt to with that debt. So basically, you're going to have to wait at least 20 years for these houses to double in value while you service the debt to make that money that you say you've got right now. You've not got it at all. If you liquidated everything tomorrow, you'd be zero, or you'd be less negative equity.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that quite a lot. But I mean, yeah, it's always important to check who you get your advice from and who you decide to take any advice and pointers from and along your journey, because a lot of people could talk the talk and it's easy to talk the talk, but if they're really advising you, and if it's from maybe a financial aspect and things as well, then you really need to make sure that they know what they're doing and they're successful in what they're doing in their own right before they advise what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree.
I've seen you looking there. I wonder if the question had come through. Yeah.
No. Well, my dream is to build a house. How much does it cost to build a Morris 4-bedroom house? It depends if you get who you get and where you're building. More than likely, the cost to build a house is usually the same no matter where you go in the country. The cost, the most cost is the additional cost is determined as the land to
the land that you build on. Yeah.
If you bought a bit of land in Leven in Fife, for example, it might be £50,000. If you went across to St Andrews in Fife and bought the same patch of land in St Andrews, it might be £160,000.
Yeah.
The cost to build the property there will probably be more or less comparatively the same. So it's the cost of the land that's probably to put the services in. In other words, in order to get the water supply there, the electricity and gas supply there, get the sewer put in as well for the serviced plot itself, that's where most of the money is actually taken from. The cost to build a house as well is more or less the same, as I said, for anywhere wherever you build. Roughly, most house builders say, and this is just a rule of thumb, that for every 3 houses they build, one of them's free. So it shows you how much they cost to build. So if a house builder, for example, is 300,000 per house, basically what they're saying to you is it's probably to them it's round about maybe 200,000 for each house to build overall. Yeah, because the first 2 or 300,000, 600,000, the 3 houses divided by the 600,000 is 200,000 each. So they're making £100,000 profit on every single one. So the third one's free. That was the rule of thumb. Whether that's right or not, you're better to speak to a builder actually for
or somebody somebody in that profession will be able to give you a better idea.
So a few things. Your number one estate agent in Scotland. How many rental properties? What's your mortgage to rent percentage? I've no idea what that means. So I'll talk about my personal, because this is, I know we're streaming on 5 properties here on TikTok, but primarily the Wealth Creation Show is actually just a personal project by Richard and I. And it's to help people create wealth over a period of time. Just so happens we don't live stream on our office pages on Facebook or any other channels. We're live streaming our personal pages for that reason. Yeah. Because it's just a personal project between Richard and I, because we learn.
We're on our investors group and things. We stream.
Yeah, we learn as we grow as well, and we grow as we learn. Both of us, because I learn a lot of new things, you learn a lot of new things as well.
Yeah.
So we're the number one estate agent in Scotland. We have been for 3 years, and it's just our I suppose our customers vote for us. It's made us the number one letting agent, estate agent in Scotland. How many rental properties do we manage? Probably about 400 or 500, something like that.
Around about
What's your
400.
mortgage to rental percentage? I have no idea, because we don't know any of these ones that are mortgaged. I know my loan to value is quite low. There was at one point my loan to value, if that's what you're talking about, was 19%. My loan to value.
And that's on your own stuff, Jim.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, fair enough. I don't. I agree with that. I'm looking for about 120 grand for land. Yeah, that's probably about a good price for land. Thanks for the answer. So you don't know. So you don't know what you're bringing in. Yes, we do know what we're bringing in, but we're not telling you.
I was just going to say that.
Why would we tell you? Tell me how much you've got in your bank. Show me right now.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously, that's quite sensitive information. So, because I have no idea who you are.
But they can tell them, feel free to check your limited company.
Yeah, I tell you what, actually, you feel free to check the limited company, because you will see that. So Parker Housing Limited is one of my companies. Jess and Jinx Limited is another company. Tigger and Timmy Limited is another company, named after my cats. Fife Property Limited is another company.
Yeah.
Buster and Buddy is another limited company. And I said Jess and Jinx, didn't I? And then we have stuff in our own personal name as well, husband and wife personal assets as well. So, you can go into company's house, you can see all that. You won't see our personal stuff, which is in us. But I like to be quite transparent, because I'm obviously blowing my trumpet and saying that these people haven't got a pot to piss in. But once you look at my limited companies, you'll probably go, "Oh, he's obviously speaking the truth."
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious now. So hopefully that gives you some sort of credence. And that's us, guys. Thanks very much for everybody joining. Thanks for tuning in as well. Thanks for coming on, Richard, and putting up with my wee rants and tangents.
No, it's good. It's good. Do you know, I put these together with these pointers and things, and it's obviously to allow you to interject with what you've learned over the years, Jim. I mean, that's 30. What years you've been doing this?
About 30 years I've probably invested in property. But remember, it took me maybe about 3 or 4 years to actually accept the fact that this thing actually works.
Yeah.
When I thought it up and thought, oh, I could invest in a property, and everybody went, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to invest in property? No one invests in property that we know. It's not a great idea. You end up getting somebody in a property and they don't pay the rent and you've lost everything. And I'm like, is that really what happens?
No.
Yeah, the people. No, this is what happened, Richard. Just to digress, I then said to myself what my mentors had taught me: have a look at the person that's questioning you and giving you these questions. Have a look at what they have, and is it something you want?
Yeah.
And my answer to that was no. So why on earth are you taking their advice? Why are you listening to them? Because if you listen to them and follow their advice, you can only get as much as what they've got. You can't get any more, because they'd be able to tell you how to actually
where they are.
Yeah,
but not further.
It's a classic example. How could somebody that's broke teach you to be rich and wealthy?
Yeah,
they'd be rich and wealthy themselves at the time. If you want to learn how to fit a kitchen, you go and learn from a joiner, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't go to a thoracic surgeon and go, hey, could you teach me how to fit a kitchen? Likewise, if you want to know how to do, brain surgery, you don't go to the airline pilot and say, could you teach me how to do airline surgery?
Yeah.
And the same example, if you want to know how to be wealthy, you go and learn from a person that's wealthy already. And I tell you what, you might just get some information off of them and be good at what you do. Hence the reason why I search all the time for people far more successful than me. Hence the reason why I talked about John Caldwell. And I thought, wow, £770,000 to have a week on his yacht. That just blows my mind. I actually thought, hey, I'm pretty successful. And then I looked at him and thought, holy shit, I'm just a wee minnow.
Another level.
But that excites me, because it's the fact, wow, I've got a long journey to go.
There's a journey still to be had. So, but yeah, whatever stage anybody's on in their journey and things, hopefully those 10 points we've covered today help people, whether they're starting out or maybe to reevaluate where they are and help them through. Always speak to the right people, and like you say, Jim, you're not going to ask an electrician, you're not going to ask a plumber how to wire a plug. Do you know what I mean? So speak to the right people. Yeah. And I think that's us. Thanks everybody for listening and all for all the comments, and thanks Jim for sharing.
Thanks for putting up and tolerating me.
And we will be back again.
I'll secretly say this. I'll say this before we end.
With him.
You're quite lucky, everybody tuning in here. You could go away and do your own thing now. You don't need to live with me. I have to put up with me every single day. And I tell you, sometimes it's quite a challenge. That's all I can say about that. Okay.
And on that note, we'll finish, and we'll be back next Monday at 12:30, guys. Okay, cheers.